Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you all how to download Astra and then play Astra. So what you're first going to want to do is go to github.com and you'll come to something like this and you're just going to search for, you can either search for poolD3, which is my username, or you can search for Astra, either or. But you should find my account right here. So you'll want to go to my home page and then repositories, and you'll see the Astra repository, the client for Astra. So go ahead and click on that and you'll come to this page, and you can go to the releases page right here on the right. You're going to want to go ahead and download the latest version. There's an option for Mac and Windows. I'm on Windows, so I'm going to go ahead and download that. If you download the Mac version, it comes with basically a jar file, which is a Java runnable file, and then also a Java installer. So you're going to want to install Java with the installer first, and then you'll be able to double click on the jar file and run it from there. But I have Windows, so I'm going to go ahead and install the Windows version, and then you can just save it anywhere you like. Okay, once you have it installed, you're going to want to go ahead and extract it. It's going to take just a second because I've bundled Java with this application so that for Windows you do not have to install Java on your own. Okay, perfect. So there it is now installed. So go ahead and just open up the folders here, and you're going to want to run this interastra.exe file. So you can go ahead and double click on it. And it should just pop right up and bring you to this menu. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the server started, so I'll be back in 1 minute. Alright, so I've gone ahead and downloaded the server. It is currently not public, so that's why I did that off camera. But once whoever is running the server is ready, you'll be able to either create a new game or join a game. So what you're going to want to do is you're first going to need the IP address of the computer that the server is running on. Now this game is meant to run on your local area network on the LAN, so that's why you need to have the IP address of the computer that's on the same network as yours. So for me this time my computer's IP address is right here, so enter that, and then you're going to enter your name. And because I'm not going to be playing with anyone today, I'm going to be hitting new game. If you are playing with someone, they will give you a game code, and then you will hit the join game button right here. But let's just go ahead and create a new game. So you can see here, here's the game code. If I wanted to distribute that to anybody, I could do so, and I could copy it as well. Here are the list of players. As more players arrive, they will all show up here, as well as their ready status. So let's go ahead and ready up, and I can show you guys the game. Alright, so here's our solar system. It has a sun in the middle that doesn't move, and then 9 planets around the sun that are rotating in a counterclockwise direction. Okay. Now the basics of moving, you can move around the solar system by clicking and dragging, and then you can scroll to zoom in and out. You probably won't be using that way to move around very much. You'll probably just be clicking on these planet buttons down here to move to the planet that you want to see. And as you move around, you can see that you are moving by these coordinates in the bottom left corner that show your position in the solar system. Alright? This back arrow here you can use to just return to the default view. Okay, so let's go over these planets here at the bottom. On the left, you have the planet that is closest to the sun. As you move towards the right, the planets get farther and farther away from the sun. So in this case, Europa is the planet that's closest to the sun, and then Io is the planet that's farthest away, way down here. Okay? Now these planets' positions, the resources they contain, the rates, everything is all randomized every game. The only thing that stays constant is that Terra Nova always has iron and oil. So let's go ahead to Europa and let's talk about this. So you can see as you hover over a planet, you get a little window pop up that shows the planet name, the 2 resources that it contains, the resource rates, the base limit number, and whether or not this planet has a moon. Okay, so in this case, Europa has oil and stone. Now the numbers next to these resources are the resource rate numbers. And basically that means the higher the number is, the faster you will accumulate resources if you're at this planet. So for instance, if I wanted to compare Terra Nova and Europa, I can see Europa's oil rate number is 0.43. And then Terra Nova's oil number is 0.48. So in this case, Terra Nova has a better oil rate. All right. Now below the resources and the rates, on the left you have the base limit number. For Europa, it's 4. For Rhea, it's 2. So this number is very important, and it means 3 different things. Firstly, it's the maximum number of bases that can be built on this planet. Okay, so in Rhea, there can only be a maximum of 2 different bases. It's also the maximum number of your rockets that you can have in orbit around the planet. All right, and then finally, it is the first number of rockets from any player that will be able to extract resources from this planet. So that means if there are 3 different players and they all send a rocket to Rhea, only the first 2 to arrive will actually be able to get resources from this planet. All right, now this number does relate to the size of the planet. Basically, Europa has a base limit number 4, meaning that Europa is a bigger planet and thus has room for more rockets to extract resources, room for more bases, right? Rhea has a base limit number of 2, therefore it's a smaller planet. And you can see that this actually does show, like visually, you can see that Europa is bigger than Rhea. Okay. So let's also talk about these numbers here at the bottom. We'll go to Terra Nova for this. So you can see here on Terra Nova has a little home icon right here. And now that means that you have a base on this planet. So everyone starts with a base on Terra Nova that helps you extract the resources on Terra Nova, which are always iron and oil. So that's why you can see your iron and oil balances over here are increasing. And we'll talk more about that in a second. The second number here, which is a 0 all the way across, is the number of your rockets that you have traveling toward this planet. So in this case, I have 0 rockets traveling toward Terra Nova. All right, and then this last number right here is the number of your rockets that are in orbit around this planet. Everyone also starts with 1 rocket orbiting Terra Nova. So that's why you have this one here, and you can see the rocket here. You can also notice that Terra Nova has a moon icon at the bottom. And any planet that has a moon will also have the icon, like Europa as well. You can see the moon. Now moons are important because they add a bonus range to any rocket that's leaving this planet. Okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about this right side of the screen here, which shows your resource balances and your progress toward winning the game. So you can see at the top we have a base counter, which is currently, for me, 0 out of 5. Your base on Terra Nova does not count. Now the objective of this game is to be the first to build 5 bases. Now this number can change based on the number of players in the lobby. In this case it is 5. So once I build 5 bases, 5 new bases on different planets, I will win the game. Now you as a player can only build 1 base per planet. You cannot build 2 bases on the same planet. Alright? Now below the bases counter is a balance. Just a dollar amount that you will receive money for selling resources, and you can use that money to buy resources or build rockets and bases and whatnot. And then below the balance are the 5 resources that are collectible throughout the game, and that is iron, oil, aluminum, copper, and stone. Now each of these resources is important for different things. Like I said earlier, Terra Nova always has iron and oil, so all players will always start by collecting iron and oil in the beginning of the game. You can see that next to all these balances is a percentage. This shows that the resources are capped, so you can't just keep accumulating them forever. If you do reach 100%, it's probably a good idea to sell that resource. Otherwise, you're losing money. Okay, so let's talk about these buttons down here that are pretty important. You can use the S key or click on this button to open the buy sell dashboard. So this is where you'll be either selling your resources that you have in excess or buying the resources that you don't have. So let's say that I don't really have a good way of getting copper right now and I need 100 copper, but I have a lot of iron. So I can go ahead and sell 200 iron, and down here I can choose whether I want to buy 200 iron or sell, and it shows me the dollar amount. So in this case you could interpret this as to buy 200 iron would require $200. If I sold 200 iron, I would receive $170. So let's go ahead and sell this iron. I can see that my iron went down by 200 and that my balance just went up by $170. Alright, and then let's go ahead and buy 100 copper. So to buy 100 copper would be $150. I have that, so I'm going to hit buy. You can see I now have 100 copper. Now you can see this countdown up here, the revaluation countdown. As the game goes on and players collect more of these resources, the resource's value will decrease. So if you can hover over these buttons to see the current rates that they're going at. So you can interpret this by saying, like, if I sold 1 iron, I would receive 85 cents. And then over here you could say, to buy 1 iron, I would need $1. Now as the game goes on, you'll get less and less money for selling your resources, but it'll also require less money to buy the resources you don't have. All right, and that happens at the end of this countdown up here. All right, so that's the buy sell dashboard. You'll be spending a lot of time here. For instance, you can see right now I'm maxed out on oil. I'm not collecting anymore. So let's just go ahead and sell half of my oil so that I can start collecting it again. All right. The second dashboard down here is transfer resources. This is only for multiplayer, but if you are playing with someone else and you came up with a verbal agreement to trade either a dollar amount or resources, you could select what you're going to send to someone. Let's say I would send 100 iron to someone, and there's no one to send it to because I'm playing by myself, but if there was, I would select who, and then I would hit send. All right. Finally, you have the information dashboard, and this shows basically the price and the statistics for bases and rockets in the game. Now it also shows it where you'll buy these things, but if you just wanted like a default dashboard to see like the prices of everything, you can come here. Okay. So now let's talk about planet dashboards, which you can see when you are on the default view, and then you click on a planet down here. You'll get this little button up here called the planet dashboard. All right. You can just hit D or click this button to pull that up, and you can see now that we're at Terra Nova, and you can just switch between planets within this dashboard. All right. So here in Terra Nova, you have your build actions, which basically means if you have a base, you can build rockets. And here are the prices and the stats again. So for instance, a tier 1 rocket costs the least amount, and it also costs the least amount of oil to send somewhere, but it has the lowest range, the lowest speed, and the lowest sell price. Bases built will show you which players have a base built on Terra Nova. Okay, and now everyone starts with a base on Terra Nova, so that's why you see my name right here. Rockets in orbit will show you the rockets that are currently in orbit around the planet. In this case, there's one. It's a tier 1 and it belongs to me. And these are the actions for this rocket, which we can go over later. And then this bottom section will show your rockets that are in flight towards this planet, which there are none right now. Now, normally, rockets accumulate resources from a planet. This is true always except for at Terra Nova. On Terra Nova, only your base accumulates resources, so it kind of provides an incentive for you to send your rockets elsewhere as soon as possible. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's send my tier 1 rocket to a different planet to get resources. So that reevaluation of resources just happened and the counter is restarted. All right, so let's first look and see which planets are in range of this tier 1 rocket. So if you hover over these buttons, it'll show you all the planets that are in range of this rocket. So in tier 1, we can see there's a handful down there. So that's okay. So I'm going to hit this send rocket. The price is 100 oil. All right, and then it says select an available planet. And so down here, I'm going to go ahead and choose a planet to go to. Now I kind of want some stone. So Europa has good stone. Callisto has stone. So let's compare these rates. 3, 6, 4, 5. So I'm going to go to Callisto. So you go ahead and select that, and you can notice how you no longer have a rocket in orbit around Terra Nova. You can see that the rocket, there it goes, flying away. Now you can notice down here on the planet tab, for planet button for Callisto, there's now a 1 right here, meaning that there is 1 rocket in flight toward this planet, and you now no longer have a rocket in orbit around Terra Nova. So if we open up the dashboard on Callisto, you can see that rockets in flight shows one of my rockets that will be arriving in about 15 seconds. I can hit this view button to go ahead and view that, and I can better see, its position in the solar system. So it's almost there. Now you can notice how when there's not a rocket here, there's unknown for bases built and rockets in orbit, right? So let's go over here for a second. So there is a vision aspect in this game where if you do not have a base built at a planet or a rocket in orbit around a planet, you do not know who else is at that planet. So it gives a certain risk when you send a rocket to a planet with a low base limit number, because you don't know if there's already 2 rockets there or not. So you kind of have to take a risk. But now that we have a rocket in orbit at Callisto, you can see that we are now accumulating more iron, which we already are, and then some stone as well. Okay. Now you can see this cooldown here. That is the rocket cooldown, and that's just the cooldown between like when you can send this rocket again. All right. Now it's also in the stat section. For the tier 1, it's 60 seconds, and it goes up to 90 seconds for a tier 4. Now you can also sell this rocket by double clicking this button for $75. Okay, so that sound you just heard is the sound that occurs when a cooldown finishes. All right. So anytime you hear that sound, it means there was a cooldown that ended. So now here we are again. We have the same buttons. I can send it or sell it, but I also have this new button which pops up on rockets orbiting a planet that does not have my base, which says upgrade to base. So in order to build a base on a planet, you have to upgrade a rocket into a base. And this costs a dollar amount, some iron, and some stone. All right, but you'll notice that a base has a multiplier of 2, while all rockets have a multiplier of 1. So let's go ahead and talk about this multiplier. If you look at a base and the resource rates, in this case, Callisto has a stone rate of 0.45. So that means if I have 1 rocket, which has a multiplier of 1, that means every second, the cumulative multiplier is added and then multiplied by each of these numbers and added to your total over here. So for instance, with my 1 rocket, with a multiplier of 1, I take each of these rates for iron and stone, multiply them by 1, and add them to my total. Okay. Now a base, as you can see here, or on the information tab, has a multiplier of 2. So that means every second, if you have a base there, each of these numbers down here is multiplied by 2 and then added to your balance over here. Now you could have a base and a rocket, and then you'd have a multiplier of 3, 2 plus 1, and then each of these numbers would be multiplied by 3 and added over here. So the more base and rockets you have, the higher you'll be, the faster you'll be accumulating the resources, basically. So yeah, that's pretty much the game. You're basically going to be sending rockets to planets, upgrading them to bases, and as you accumulate more and more resources, you'll be able to go to the sell tab, sell your resources. Like once again, I'm maxed out on oil, and I'm going to sell a lot of iron as well. And then let's see if I can go ahead and just buy a base here. So I'm going to buy that. So now I have a lot of stone. Okay, so you can also see that when you can't afford something, it tells you at this top left how much you're missing. So let's go ahead, I should have enough now. I'm going to upgrade this to a base. Oh, it makes you double click it as well, just because these are small buttons and I don't want anyone to misclick. Okay, so that rocket goes away, and I now have a base built on Callisto. As you can see, the home icon has appeared. So this means that now I can build rockets on this planet. You can only build rockets on a planet where you have a base. So now I can build rockets on Terra Nova and Callisto. Okay. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you need to leave the game, you can hit escape and use the leave game button. Yeah, have fun playing, and thanks for watching.